Welcome back, lovely ladies. If you want to become the woman of your dreams, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. And join our Patreon for even more exclusive content. Now, let's dive into today's story.
I arrived at Mandy's apartment building around 7 in the evening, stepping out of a taxi and onto the wet pavement. There had been a brief shower earlier, leaving everything glistening under the flickering street lamp. Her place was on the second floor, up 2 short flights of creaky wooden steps in a converted old townhouse. I knew Mandy because she was dating John, a good friend of mine, but John had left town a few days earlier on a work-related trip. Mandy was staying behind, reveling in a bit of freedom and hosting a small get-together that night. When she invited me earlier in the week, she mentioned that she'd be screening a documentary about Woodstock, and a few friends from her college days would be there. Drinks, music, and some attempts at reviving that late 60s energy. I figured it would be a laid-back evening, which sounded perfect. I rapped lightly on the door, and after a short pause, Mandy answered with a bright smile. She had long, straight dark hair that fell well below her shoulders, decorated with a beaded headband tonight. She wore a patterned maxi skirt that brushed the floor when she moved, and a loose-fitting tie-dye blouse. Large hoop earrings dangled with every turn of her head. I'd always thought of Mandy as having that old soul style, natural fabrics, plenty of color, always a few meaningful bracelets jangling on her wrist. "Sam, you made it," she said, stepping aside to let me in. The apartment smelled vaguely of incense, something woody and warm, and I could hear distant laughter mixed with the low hum of a television from the other room. "Come on in. We've already started on the Tequila and the documentary's about to begin." Inside, the apartment felt relaxed and friendly. To the left of the small hallway was the living area, where 3 women were already settled. I recognized Vicky first, a friend I'd met before at a couple of gatherings, notable for her short auburn bob and quick wit. Then there was Michelle, who I'd heard about but never officially met. She had a radiant presence with wavy light brown hair, glasses perched on her nose, and a comfortably casual outfit, a long skirt and a simple tank top. Beside her was Danny, also a stranger to me until that moment. Danny was tall, with a confident posture and a few tattoos peeking out along her forearms. She wore a flowing dress with earthy tones and a small silver pendant around her neck. The 3 of them turned their attention to me as Mandy introduced me properly. "Sam, this is Michelle," Mandy said. "Michelle, meet Sam, and that's Danny, and you've already met Vicky a while back." "Hi," I said with a friendly wave. "Nice to meet you." Michelle returned a warm smile. "Hey, nice to finally put a face to the name. Mandy's mentioned you a few times." Danny nodded. "Welcome. Grab a seat. We're just getting comfortable." I stepped deeper into the room. The coffee table was already laden with glasses, a half-empty bottle of tequila, and a plate of lime slices. A couple of shot glasses were arranged haphazardly. On the television, the opening credits of a Woodstock documentary were rolling. The room had this casual, carefree energy I was immediately grateful for. Sometimes gatherings can feel stiff at first, but not this one. Mandy clapped her hands. "So, everyone's dressed up for the theme, right?" she said, spinning around once to show off her outfit. Michelle's skirt, Vicky's embroidered vest, Danny's flowing dress, they all had that retro look going on. "Sam," Mandy continued, eyeing my everyday jeans and t-shirt, "I totally forgot to tell you. We decided to go with a kind of 60s hippie vibe. Guess I dropped the ball there." I glanced down at my clothes and shrugged. "Don't worry about it. I don't really have anything that fits the theme anyway," I replied. "I guess I'll just be the outlier tonight." Mandy tilted her head and rubbed her chin thoughtfully. "Well, it might not be too late to fix that," she said. "I've got plenty of clothes that could work. The others borrowed a few things from me. What do you think?" Before I could answer, Michelle reached over to hand me a lit joint. "Have a puff," she said, her voice soft and encouraging. "We're just getting started. And here, have a shot too." She poured clear tequila into a glass and nudged it toward me. I accepted both offers, feeling a slight warmth already creeping into the room from the alcohol and the laughter. After taking a small hit and a shot, I coughed lightly and smiled. Vicky laughed. "He's a trooper," she said. "I choked my first time tonight. Too strong, I guess." Mandy wasn't letting the dress-up idea go. She walked over and patted me on the shoulder. "Come on, let's see what we can do," she said. "I have some loose tops, long skirts. There's something for everyone." She glanced at Michelle. "We did a good job outfitting you, didn't we?" Michelle nodded. "Yeah, Mandy's basically got a vintage store in her closet. Everything's flowy and comfortable, perfect for tonight." She looked at me, her eyes bright, and raised an eyebrow. "Why not join the fun? Let's see if we can transform you." I hesitated a moment, but I was feeling pretty relaxed and open to the idea. The atmosphere here was supportive, no judgmental stares. If anything, they seemed enthusiastic about bringing me into the fold. I pictured myself in a flowy skirt, something I'd never tried before. Mandy's grin grew when she saw me thinking it through. "Sure," I said. "Why not? Let's get me looking the part." Danny chimed in from the sofa. "Yes, that'll be perfect. We can give you a bandana, maybe some bracelets, and I'll do your hair." Mandy motioned for me to follow her down the hallway to her bedroom. The place was cozy with low lighting, incense sticks on a dresser, and tapestries draped over a wardrobe. Mandy started pulling out various garments. She hummed softly to herself as she flicked through hangers. "Let's see," she said. "I've got this purple skirt, super loose. It's adjustable around the waist so we won't have a problem with sizing." She tossed it on the bed. "And maybe a tie front top, something that just screams late 60s. I watched, amused, as she considered options. She eventually handed me a long purple skirt with subtle floral patterns and a cream-colored boho top that tied in front. She also produced a black bra, holding it up as if measuring it against my chest. "This might help the top fit and look right," she said, smirking. "Vicky's idea. It'll make the look more authentic." I raised an eyebrow. "A bra?" I asked, half laughing. "Well, you're the stylist tonight." "Just trust me," Mandy replied. "Besides, we've all had a few drinks. Everyone's in a playful mood. Just go with it." I changed in the small adjoining bathroom. Slipping into the skirt felt oddly freeing. The fabric swished around my legs as I turned. The top was a bit tricky to tie properly, but I managed, and after a moment of adjusting, I put on the bra underneath. It felt strange, a bit constraining, but I reminded myself it was all in good fun. When I returned to Mandy's room, she nodded approvingly. "I'm going to call you Jane tonight," she said playfully. "Sam's gone off somewhere. Now we've got Jane, joining the girls for an evening." "I guess I can be Jane for a while," I said, smirking. We returned to the living room. When I walked in, there was a collective murmur of delight and laughter. Michelle applauded softly, Vicky gave an encouraging wolf whistle, and Danny got up immediately, guiding me to sit on a floor cushion near a low coffee table. "All right," Danny said, picking up a brush. "Let's work on your hair. Maybe a couple of small braids on the side, give you that vintage festival look." As she worked on my hair, I caught sight of myself in the mirror on the wall. The transformation was remarkable. I'd never worn such clothing before, never really imagined I would, but the atmosphere tonight made it feel completely natural. The others continued with the shots. Michelle passed me another small glass. "To Jane," she said, grinning. "Welcome to the party." After a few more moments, I had two neat, thin braids framing my face. Someone applied a bit of eyeliner, a touch of lipstick, and some faint blush that Michelle produced from her bag. By the time they were finished, I blended right in. They teased me, calling me by my new name, and then we finally settled in to watch the documentary. The volume turned up as images of tie-dye shirts, muddy fields, and legendary musicians flooded the screen. Over the next hour, we drank, passed the joint around occasionally, and talked. Sometimes we'd point at the screen and comment on the hairstyles, the crowd's energy, or a legendary performance. Other times we'd drift into side conversations about life, work, college memories. Vicky closed her eyes and hummed along to a track. Mandy stretched out on the sofa, legs draped over the armrest. Danny leaned against a pile of cushions, quiet but smiling. Michelle scooted closer to me and we chatted. She told me bits of her life, her major in college, her part-time job at a local gallery, and her interest in music history. Occasionally I'd forget what I was wearing. I would cross my legs and feel the skirt swish. The bra's straps pressed gently on my shoulders, reminding me it was there. But the others didn't seem to think twice about it after the initial excitement. It was like I had always been one of the group, just one more person relaxing into the evening. At some point, Mandy and Danny slipped away. whispering something about looking for a certain record they wanted to play. Vicky dozed off in an armchair, head tilted back, mouth slightly open. That left me and Michelle on the sofa, the documentary's soundtrack lingering in the background. Michelle tucked her legs underneath her skirt and turned fully toward me. "You know," she said softly, "I got so used to talking to you as Jane tonight that I forgot what you looked like earlier." She laughed, looking a bit self-conscious at her own admission. "It's just funny how quickly this felt normal." I nodded, feeling a warmth from her words that wasn't just the tequila. "I know what you mean," I said. "Everything tonight just kind of flowed. I never thought I'd be comfortable dressed like this, but here I am." Michelle played with a strand of her own hair. "It's interesting, though. Earlier, before we changed your outfit, I barely knew you. Just a friend of Mandy's, I guess. But now," she paused and let out a quiet, airy laugh, "I've been sitting here talking to you as if we've known each other a long time." I caught the hint of rose in her cheeks. I smiled at her. "It's been good talking," I said, keeping my voice low so as not to wake Vicky. "You have a lot to say, and I like how you see things." She gave a slight tilt of her head. "Funny you say that," Michelle said, leaning in a little closer. "I found myself just enjoying your company without any of the usual filters. The way you just went along with everything tonight. No fuss, no judgment. It's..." She trailed off and smiled softly. I noticed her eyes glimmering in the low light. I felt her hand rest lightly on my arm. Neither of us spoke for a moment. We could hear faint laughter from somewhere down the hall, Mandy and Danny talking excitedly as they rummaged for that record. A muffled thump of something falling over, followed by their stifled giggles. Michelle looked down at my outfit, then back at my face. "It's kind of surreal," she admitted quietly. "I forget sometimes that you're..." She let the sentence hang, not finishing it. Instead, she moved a bit closer, and before I realized it, she leaned in and kissed me. It was gentle and warm, a quick press of her lips against mine. I blinked in surprise but didn't pull away. The scent of her perfume, something subtly floral, lingered in the air between us. When she pulled back, she studied my face for a reaction. I could feel my heart beating faster. "I hope that was okay," she said in a barely audible whisper. "I just got caught up in the moment." I offered a reassuring smile and nodded, then responded with a soft kiss of my own. It felt right somehow. Nothing about tonight had been planned, but it all seemed to fit together. The clothes, the music, the atmosphere, the gentle teasing, everything had led here, to this quiet moment on Mandy's sofa. Michelle let out a breath she'd been holding. "I like this," she said, touching the collar of my top lightly. "The whole energy tonight, you know? No pretense." We heard footsteps at the doorway. Mandy and Danny appeared, big grins on their faces. They must have noticed the intimate space Michelle and I shared. Mandy rested one hand on the doorframe and teased us gently. "Well, well," she said, smiling broadly. "I see the party's getting cozy. Hope we're not interrupting." Michelle sat up straighter, smoothing her skirt. I cleared my throat, but I didn't feel embarrassed, just relaxed. The environment tonight didn't lend itself to shame or awkwardness. Still, there was a slight blush in Michelle's cheeks, and I'm sure mine too. Danny raised an eyebrow. "Mandy and I have been going over some old boxes," she said cryptically, "reminiscing. We got to talking. Seems like everyone's having their own version of a good time tonight." She winked at me, but it was friendly, not mocking. Mandy flopped onto a chair, crossing her legs. "Just don't forget about the rest of us," she joked. "Vicky, wake up." She tapped the side of the chair Vicky was in. Vicky stirred, opened her eyes groggily, and then, after a moment of confusion, realized where she was. "Did I miss something?" Vicky asked, looking between the four of us. "Oh, nothing too wild," said Mandy, voice full of playful sarcasm. "Just a bit of kissing on the sofa." She made a show of looking at Michelle and me. Michelle pursed her lips and shook her head, a smile still evident. Vicky yawned and stretched. "Well, good for you," she said. "Count me out, though." She grinned at Mandy. "I know you were joking about involving me, but just making it clear, I'm on my own here. I'm perfectly happy with that." Mandy laughed. "Don't worry. I've given up trying to set you up with anyone. Besides, tonight's been full of surprises already." She glanced at Michelle. "I thought you were strictly into... Well, I guess I never really asked." Mandy's tone was curious, not prying. Michelle shrugged, running a hand through her hair. I don't know, she said calmly. It's not about labels right now. Tonight just felt different. She gave me a smile and I returned it. I appreciated that she wasn't forcing anything into a box. The evening had a soft, dreamlike quality, and any attempts to define things felt unnecessary. Mandy nodded slowly. Makes sense, she said. I mean, look at us. We're watching Woodstock footage, dressing up, having a good time. This is all about doing something outside the usual. She reached for the tequila and poured another round of shots. Let's toast to that, she said, to doing things differently and seeing where it leads. We all raised our glasses. Even Vicky, still half asleep, managed a small grin. We downed the shots. The burn was smoother now, my senses accustomed to the taste. Danny got up and put on some psychedelic rock music Mandy had found in that dusty box. Low guitar riffs and distant percussion filled the room, setting a mellow, drifting mood. For the next hour or so, we danced a bit. Nothing too vigorous, just swaying, laughing, and occasionally twirling in the living room's limited space. The skirts and scarves flowed as we moved. Danny tried to teach me a small dance step, holding my hands and turning me around. Vicky tapped her foot sleepily. Mandy hummed softly along with the music, occasionally glancing at me and Michelle with a knowing smile. Eventually, fatigue crept in. The documentary had ended a while ago. The record had played through both sides, and the table was now cluttered with empty shot glasses and half-eaten snacks. Mandy announced that she and Danny would head to bed. There's a guest room and also the couch, she said, directing her words to me and Michelle. Michelle, I know you planned on crashing here anyway. Sam, oh, sorry. Jane, you can take the spare room if you like. Michelle looked at me. How about we share the spare room? She asked gently. I mean, if you're okay with that, I'm happy not to sleep alone in there. I felt a pleasant flutter in my stomach. Sure, I said. That'd be nice. Mandy grinned and tossed us a couple of pillows and a folded blanket. There's an extra nightdress in the dresser, she said to Michelle. Go ahead and find one for each of you. More comfortable than sleeping in what you've got on now. Michelle nodded. Thanks, she said. We'll tidy up tomorrow, promise. Danny and Mandy headed off to Mandy's bedroom, whispering about something, their voices fading down the hallway. Vicky claimed the couch. She stretched out, looking relieved that she didn't have to move far. Good night, she murmured. Good night, Michelle and I said in unison. We made our way to the spare bedroom. It was small, with just a single bed, a small bedside table, and a tall lamp in the corner. The sheets were patterned with sunflowers, and the dresser had a candle and a stack of old magazines on top. Michelle opened a drawer and pulled out 2 nightdresses. One was light blue with tiny white flowers, the other pale green. Both were satin-like and ended above the knee. Michelle handed me the green one. Here, this'll look good on you, she said with a teasing wink. I chuckled softly. I'll give it a try, I said. Tonight's been a night of firsts anyway. We took turns changing in the bathroom. When I emerged, I caught a glimpse of Michelle wearing the blue one. The soft material draped elegantly, and her hair fell loosely around her shoulders. She smiled, and I couldn't help but think how lovely she looked in the gentle light. The single bed was narrow. We had to lie close. Michelle turned off the lamp, leaving only a sliver of light from the window, filtering through the thin curtains. Outside, a distant car engine hummed, and I could hear muffled laughter from the other room. We lay on our sides, facing each other, voices low to match the hush that had fallen over the apartment. I had a really good time tonight, Michelle said. I never expected any of this. Me neither, I said. But I'm glad I came over. I brushed a lock of her hair away from her face, and she closed her eyes for a moment, smiling softly. She reached out and took my hand, entwining our fingers. We said little else. The day's events had left us pleasantly tired, and words seemed unnecessary. The quiet closeness was enough. I could still faintly smell the incense, along with the lingering scent of her perfume. The fabric of the nightdress felt smooth against my skin, and I realized I didn't mind the unusual clothing. If anything, the comfort was welcome. Somewhere out in the living room, Vicky turned over on the couch, causing a soft creak. Further off, Mandy and Danny were probably still awake, talking in low voices, enjoying their own time away from everyday routines. The entire evening had that intangible quality of something you'd always remember, a gentle push outside of ordinary expectations, and an understanding that everyone could just be who they were in that moment. Michelle squeezed my hand gently. I leaned forward and pressed a light kiss to her forehead. She laughed softly, barely a sound, just a breath. Then we settled against the pillows, legs touching under the blankets, drifting toward sleep. There was no grand conclusion, no dramatic confession, just the feeling that this night mattered, that everything had felt raw and real in its own way. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, maybe a bit of awkwardness, maybe some laughter over morning coffee as we recalled the crazy outfits and the spontaneous kisses. But as I closed my eyes, I felt content. Michelle's presence, the warmth of the bed, and the echoes of laughter made it all feel complete. Outside, a car passed on the street. The sound faded quickly. Inside, the apartment was quiet now, filled with the gentle hush of sleeping friends, and somewhere in that stillness, I fell asleep with a smile on my face.
Did you like the story? Hit that like button and tell me what you thought in the comments. Do you want to hear more stories? Subscribe and hit the bell. For exclusive content and early access, check out our Patreon. You can find the link in the description, or you can watch any of the videos shown on my right. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.